He mo he
Sorry.
mostly does no problem. He mostly does contracting for concrete. But he's one of those jacks of all trades. He's done painting. He knows other
Yeah.
um
By the way, there's
professional
a ton of
painters.
money to be made in concrete, and
Yeah,
concrete is something you specialize in, right?
right.
You should be known, or he should be known. He is the expert in concrete. All he does is concrete driveways or concrete pools or pattern concrete or whatever it is, or concrete foundations for custom homes or row homes or modular homes. But he has to be seen as the go-to guy for that. He can't be doing roofing one day, concrete another, painted the next day. Nobody's going to trust that person.
Okay, that was another question. So I started researching some other local painting companies. Many of them do offer this huge array of these other services.
Yeah,
In your opinion,
that's a huge mistake. If you look at Google statistics, it takes 5 to 40 years for the average painting company to get to $800,000. $800,000. Okay. Most painting companies in Canada and US take forever to get to $800,000. That's pathetic. I mean, let's say they're doing 10% net profit. That's $80,000. Let's say $100,000. And you're
yeah,
busting your ass to make $100,000. I mean, that's pathetic. And most people take 5 to 20 years to do that. Right.
right,
So there's a lot of bad ways to do stuff, and yet the construction industry is the most profitable industry. So I don't get it. I don't understand it. And these people don't even ask a question. And there's tons of Facebook groups. I'm a moderator of a Facebook group with 350,000 construction owners or construction workers. Nobody asks questions. You get belittled if you try and share a strategy or you ask a question. You get belittled. You're booted, right?
wow,
Because you're not supposed to do well.
strange.
Yeah.
So so you recommend specializing in one industry and sticking to that, and then being known just for that one niche.
Yeah. But you better have an aggressive marketing campaign or system, because you're not going to get enough of those projects just from referrals. And referrals alone is the slowest way to grow your company. 99.99% of companies on Facebook groups do everything by referrals. The 1/10 of 1% do marketing, but they do pay-per-click marketing. They don't use trust foundations. They don't use trusted circles. They don't use proven strategies. They don't use branding differentiation or anything else. The few trucks that are have signs on it, they're not wraps, they just have signs, and a lot of times magnetic signs. They look pathetic. I mean, it basically says this truck belongs to this company. It's not branding and differentiation. It's not systems that are going to get you to 5 million or 20 million or 100 million.
Right. Okay. Hmm. Um, how familiar are you with 3PL companies, third
uh,
party logistics?
Somewhat. I wouldn't say. Keep in mind my my
Mostly
expertise
construction.
is construction.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah,
Okay. So, being a warehouse manager, I've managed multiple different types of industries. So, like, um, FTL, like at Foster Farms Poultry, it was all FTLs. It's all large, full loads, 75 loads a day, um, incoming and outgoing on 10 dock doors, super busy. Whereas this company I worked for that did high end dog treats, that was all parcels and some LTL. But what we did there too is also we did a lot of 3PL with other independent companies, right? So they're a company, right? They want to get into this market, however, they don't produce or even warehouse or ship. So 3PL, essentially the business concept is we become the warehousing and shipping department for an online sales team, right?
Right.
We house their inventory, they sell it, we process the order and ship it. It's actually super simple. Warehouse space in this region is really affordable, and a lot of people just don't have the knowledge base to do that type of work. The profit margins are high. It's something that I've been looking into because my experience, I've done it with all the big guys, right? Chewy's and Amazon's and Walmart and Target and Burlington. They all have their own user interface modules. They all operate differently. They're all a pain in the butt, really. But if you know how to do it, right, that and independently, that learning curve isn't an issue. And then the matter of just storing product and going and picking the orders and slapping a shipping label on it becomes easy.
The only see, you're talking about a product or a service. The product or a service generally represents 10% of the overall business blueprint. So we don't focus too much on the product or the service. We focus more on the 90%, the business blueprint, right? The only thing that I see, even though we do efficiency studies on services and stuff like that, most of our focus is on the business side of the business. The thing that I would recommend if you were going to start that type of logistics company would be, how do you get their attention, right? Because you're going to be a young upstart, and the only thing you have is pricing over the existing companies. And how do you take a contract away from an existing company? Because having someone try you out on a few loads might be okay. And the only way you're going to do that is by saying, hey, we can do it 10% cheaper or 50% cheaper or whatever it is. Then they try you out and gradually you get more and more loads from them. But don't forget that company is not going to sit back and just allow you to do it. Right.
Right. Right.
They're going to drop their prices and put you out of business, because they just have to drop their prices for a month or two and starve you to death, right? Now that you got all this office staff and you've leased trucks and you've got this all the equipment, they can just starve you for 3 months. Then once you're bankrupt, they can resume their pricing, right? So it's not an easy business to start. But if you're successful, it could be a very profitable business.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, having said that, there's a 96% failure rate in the industry before the virus. 96% of companies never see their 10th birthday. Okay. And you're talking about a major investment in starting that type of company, unless you can find partners, unless you can find, free space, almost free space, like you were discussing. If you can get these landlords to say, hey, I understand I'm not using that, 10,000 square feet right now. I'll let you have it for 6 months free of charge, in hopes that you can start a business and you can, take over a 5-year lease after that. So, I mean, if you can be very creative and you have those connections, if you can be extremely creative and you're a deal maker, yes, there's a business to be built there, with those unique ideas. because the
Yeah,
advantages of being small is the fact that you can turn on a dime, and you can become very creative. And if your goal is to help people, not only help your future potential clients, but also help, existing landlords that have excess space, but you still have equipment and, people issue. You still need to find equipment, both, forklifts and shelving space, and, unless they already have the shelving space that they can give you.
good points.
So what is your goal here? What are you trying to accomplish? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Good question. I I have the condition of still thinking small. Um, Originally, for instance, with the vent cleaning business, my notion, I'm very debt adverse by nature, and
You're
so my
very
no
what? Sorry?
debt adverse. So
That
like my
okay.
notion is to sort of start small, sole proprietorship, start doing the work myself on the side from my actual job, until I feel comfortable enough to actually hire employee, right? And then, but that essentially is, a way to double my income. It's not necessarily a way to start a multi-million dollar business, right?
Or
Um,
create generational wealth.
right. And so I'm coming to terms with the notion of you know, how naive I am and how small I'm thinking um with regards to business in general. And so like after our conversation with you, I got excited and okay, well this successful person is telling me to investigate painting companies, right? So that's a route that I can take, and the equipment isn't necessarily that expensive, and I can be up and running literally like within weeks. But again, like what's the business blueprint, right? I haven't gone through. I did look you up and see some videos and stuff. These last few days have been very busy for me, so I haven't had time to properly even do research on you, let alone the company, right? But I did notice some videos. I noticed you had one like, does it matter what your work van looks like or something of that nature? And I thought, oh, I need to look at that because I literally just bought a work van and it's not pristine, And I was thinking like, oh, I plan on doing that today. I'm at work right now, actually. I was planning on doing that today before our meeting, but I got held up. But these are the things. So, like, what does that blueprint look like? Like in your experience and your recommendation,
Well,
if I'm
that's what we do. We've got a team of 15 people. That's what we do. I mean, we had a meeting a short time ago with at 4 a.m. because my team is remote. 4 a.m. because one of my construction guys, clients, wants to open up a coffee shop, and the business doesn't make sense because he's. But it was something interesting to look at, and I will produce a video on this. And by the way, I have over 500 videos on my YouTube channel. Most of them are private, but there's ways to get into even private that I can show you. But we use that to test my people to see how creative they are into not looking at the obstacles, but use obstacles to create negatives into advantages. So even though this business didn't make sense, I mean, it doesn't make sense. He's taken, he took 20 years to learn the construction industry. Now he's going to take another 10 years, literally, to learn the coffee shop business, right? It doesn't make sense. Why would you invest that and all the risk? And he has to finance. He's asking for $800,000, and the revenue doesn't cover the debt load. And I see him refinancing his house because in 3 years it's going to go like that, and he hasn't, financed the debt load, and the coffee shop is only growing by 18 or 22% a year. It's not going to satisfy the debt load. So I said, the only way this makes sense is either to find strategies to double the sales in the next 12 months, which I believe is feasible, or create a franchise concept where you can franchise this concept, which means rebranding, differentiation, and growing this business to 100 million. This is the only way it makes sense, because otherwise you are in the construction industry, and construction industry is the most profitable industry. So why would you leave the most profitable industry to go into a industry that's not so profitable? And the risks are immense by leaving the safe environment of the construction industry. And now you're putting up your house as collateral, or you will have to, because even though he hasn't asked for that yet. But if I was advising the vendor, who is this guy? He has no coffee shop experience. He has no management experience. And now you're going to take my baby away from me, and you're going to put $100,000 as a down payment. How do I know you're not going to screw it up? Right? So if I was
Right.
advising the seller, I would say, okay, no, I need your house as collateral. Right? 100 grand is not going to do it. So it just does not make sense. But I did get excited about the fact that he is, open to discussing franchising. And we came up with some very unique strategies that I think are better than Starbucks, better than Tim Hortons, better than Dunkin' Donuts, better than a lot of these strategies, because a lot of these companies don't understand the subliminal messaging inside of branding. Okay. This is one of the videos you should watch on my YouTube channel about subliminal messaging, because a name of a company is literally worth $100 million. Just the name. A well-researched, well-tested name is worth $100 million. And most companies never do it. I mean, look at companies like Kentucky Fried Chicken had to rebrand after 30 or 40 years from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC, because they know that people eat healthy and they don't want fried crap in their bodies. So they had to rebrand, right? So they should have known that 40 years ago when they first started their company on day one, or day one minus, 365 days, right? They
Right,
should have
right.
known this shit, right? People want to eat healthy. So we make a lot of stupid mistakes that we should have known. We should have anticipated the mistakes before the mistakes happen. We create mistakes, right? And that's why we focus so much on the mistakes. Just like an architect, the reason why we spent, a year or 3 years designing the, our dream home, the reason why we focus on the blueprint is so we eliminate 99% of the mistakes. If we skip the blueprint phase and we go right into building a business, we're going to create $400,000 mistakes, right? We're going to create $400,000 mistakes. And that's actual case study. And that's another video you should watch. So we create most of our mistakes. So again, I'm still not clear as to why you want to start a business, where you want to be in 5 years, because until you answer those questions, it's going to be very difficult for you to understand what you're trying to do and what you're looking for.
Okay. I'd like to start my own business because I never feel satisfied working for other people. I always feel like I'm very good at problem solving, and it's kind of my niche, solving problems, creating more efficient policies and SOPs, finding missing money. Right, I come in and I fix these problems, and I always feel as though I can do it better than the way other people are doing it. And I feel like I want to do that. Like, I'm never gonna be really satisfied if I don't try to do it myself.
Okay.
The issue for me is I don't necessarily, let me go back where I want to be in 5 years. I'd like to be in 5 years running a multi-million-dollar business that I don't be at a point where I'm not doing the physical work of anything. I have a lot of managerial experience, obviously not running an entire business, but running crews and running work and doing so efficiently and in a way that keeps everything floating. I can learn the rest, right? If I have good mentorship through trial and error, through research, I can manage the rest, I think, right? Hiring the right people for the right jobs. But I'd like to be in a position in 5 years running a company, successful company that affords me more freedom in life. Um, that sounds really generic. I'm not sure, but I think for me, the industry isn't necessarily specific. Like I don't have necessarily people say find your passion and work in that. I love cars. I'm kind of a gearhead, but I don't necessarily see myself like living the lifestyle I want to live, doing things like that. I don't want to open up a mechanic shop. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that.
And that's the quickest way to destroy your passion.
Oh, see, there's something no one tells you.
Right? I mean, I love playing pickleball and I love playing volleyball and, I love lots of different things. But if I were to open a business with it, people say, do what you love. No, no, no. I don't agree with that at all. If you listen to the people on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, they don't care about the product or the service. If it makes sense, they do it, right?
Right.
Who cares if you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah. And that's how I'm feeling about your idea about painting.
Yeah.
I was talking with a guy who's been in construction 20 years, and he was telling me painting. That's genius.